This is Mahmoud Al Aswad. Why am I showing you this really terrible Syrian 17-year-old? Because this is what he is like when he is set to his maximum potential of 160. He could be this good on your game, and you can literally pick him up at the start of your games for £10,000. Why am I showing you this? Well, he is an Unknown Wonderkid. I have 9 more to show you, as well as show you what they are like at their maximum, so don't go going anywhere. Yes, look how many 16s and 17s this guy has. Some unbelievable physical attributes. He's 5'11", great mental attributes too, and even the technicals makes him very dangerous should you want to play him in that cam role, the center of the pitch that we have selected right now, or on that right hand side, which he both plays naturally. And remember, to actually load this player in, you're going to have to make sure you have the Syrian players loaded, so don't go writing in the comments, I cannot find this player. For a lot of these players, their reputation is so low that you would have to have their nations loaded or their club's players loaded to specifically find them on your game. But before we take a look at the other 9, I've actually very optimistically saved this save game file as Unknown Wonderkids 1, because if there's enough demand for it, there'll be an Unknown Wonderkids 2. That's another video with 10 more of these players just like this that maybe you would like to see. So if that's the case, then show this video some love. You know what I'm talking about. Some thumbs up, please. And of course, I want you to let me know down in the comments what one of these players is your favorite. Which one have you ever heard of before? If any, let me know down in the comments, because if there's enough, I'll do a second video. Next up, we have Asanele Velabhai. Now, this guy is from South Africa, 17 years of age, and I'm going to show you what they are all like, the rest of the 9 players, at the end of the video in one group, so I'm not going back and forth, but this is what him at the start of the game. He's very cheap. Have a look at him on your games, see if you can pick him up for really... I'm not going to go through the prices of each one, because a lot of people always go, oh, he costs so much more on mine. I'll basically tell you roughly how much I got him for. It was about 200k. Then we move to Argentina and we have this youngster here, 18 years of age, Franco Orozco. Again, it's a player that I don't really hear a lot of people talking about. This guy's actually really good at the start of the game. Now, I personally think he's a little bit too expensive, but £5.5 million at the start, and you can pick him up. Maybe later on in your game, you might actually find him a little bit cheaper if he starts to run his contract down. Again, we'll see what he's like at the end, but he does have a potential range of 160. And if he looks this good now, then you'd like to think when he reaches 160, he would look very tasty indeed. Staying in Argentina, we also have this guy on the other side. Although he can play both naturally, this left-footed guy, which I think would look really good on that right hand side, cutting inside onto his left foot. Again, at 19 years of age, he's one of the older players on this list, actually has some great starting attributes. Just like the one previously, 160 potential range on your game, and according to my sources, around about £3 million, and this guy could be yours. However, a contract that runs out at the end of the first season means that you might just wait a little bit longer until the January, and then you might be able to get him on a free transfer. That is not bad. Maybe a little bit of compensation fee, but for a guy who can do quite a lot of things at the start of the game, cuts inside from both wings and places shots, not bad value for money. Now, I promise you, we're not just going to show just like South American guys, although we've obviously the first 2 wasn't from South America. This has been a run of 3 players now, because this guy is Uruguayan. He's 17 years of age. Again, he plays on both wings or up top. And to be honest, again, he's not that bad at the start of the game. He has some 11s and 12s, which you'd like to think will grow and develop once he reaches his potential range of 160, but some good obvious attributes at the start. That 15 flair knocks the ball past opponents, just the kind of thing that you need for a winger in Benjamin Rodriguez. Plus, he is Uruguayan. You can pick him up for about £2 million, and he has that 160 potential range at his disposal. So from 130 to 160, that's where his potential will lie randomly in every single new game that is loaded. Now, I have said unknown, and this is probably one of the most known players on this list because I think at least one person's mentioned him to me anyway, but I'm going to take a gamble that a lot of you haven't heard of Luis Carbonell. He plays for Real Zaragoza at the start of the game, 17 years of age, Spanish striker. Now, he does have a lot of random attributes. He is 160 potential range, and you can pick him up for just over £1 million. So maybe with a little bit of added clauses, you can get him for maybe under £1 million. A lot of his attributes are random. I've seen him with a lot higher finishing at the start. When he is set to his maximum, he's like one of those strikers who has no right to score as many goals as what he does. He just has like the best attribute distribution. They're always placed in the correct places. Composure, decision making, pace, you'll see at the end of the video. Now, a lot of my viewers come from Scotland, and you might be pleased to see that Chris Mockery has made the list, especially if you are a Dundee United fan. He is sat in your under 18s at the start of the game. 17 years of age, and you can roughly pick him up for about £500,000. Plays naturally in the two midfield roles here in the centre, and he can also play on the left. He's either footed, which is really impressive to be honest, has some good starting attributes, and again has that 160 potential range. We scoot on over to Romania though with one of my favourite clubs is FCSB and Octavian Popescu. I love, by the way, managing in Romania. I did it on my Twitch save last year, and this year twitch.tv/MegaLootGaming. We're coming towards the end of Youth to Go, so if you haven't done so and come and checked out my Twitch, we should have a new save I would hope for in the next couple of months or so, so make sure you go and give me a follow. But this man, again, 17 years of age, he plays on the left, he's right-footed, and he cuts inside. That would be quite nice if you added that to his player traits. He tries tricks already, so he has a little bit of flair, 13 flair there, likes ball played to his feet, beats man repeatedly, so you'd like to think his dribbling is going to be really good when he reaches his maximum potential of 160. There's only one that isn't 160. I'll let you know which one that is. Oh, and I forgot to say that this guy can also be picked up for about £500,000 at the start of the game. Moving across Europe to Croatia, we have Ivan Kubelich. Probably. He plays for the Hajduk Split under 19s. He's 17 years of age, can play anywhere in midfield, but naturally in the centre attacking midfield, the AMC and the MC role. Now, fundamentally, he has what you hope a lot of 12s will turn into, those 14s, 15s, and 16s, especially that composure, decision making, to make himself a really good playmaker with passing and vision, also at 12. Now, you can pick him up for roughly about 650k at the start of the game, and to be honest, I think that's quite a bargain. Like we've seen with the Moneyball transfers, a lot of these players you can pick up for fairly cheap and just turn them over for profit in the future should you never really use them or reach their maximum potential. Over to Russia though, and an 18-year-old by the name of Konstantin Tyurkavin plays for Dynamo Moscow anyway, and at the start of the game, I mean, 16 determination, 15 heading, 15 finishing, not that bad. He does, however, have a potential range of 150, so he has a lower potential range than the other guys, and he might cost a little bit more, around about the £3 million mark. And I have included him on this list because my friend Ryan Cassidy has done a player test on this guy, and he turned out quite amazing. He sent me the screenshots of it, and I thought, do you know what? I think he is worth putting on one of these WONDERKID, Unknown Wonderkid lists, just simply because he has, again, great attribute distribution. So the striker we will see in a second at 150. Let's go. Yes. 18 for finishing and for heading. He doesn't have the best decision makings, but he still has 14 composure, 16 anticipation and off the ball, and his physicals are really appealing as well. Imagine only having a player of 150 potential range, but he turns out like this. I think it's well worth putting him on. If you have some elite players around him, he's still going to score so many goals. He's a bit of a game breaker with how good certain attributes are. And yes, we're going to go backwards. Ivan Kubelich, I'm going to go with that as pronunciation. 17 years of age, like we mentioned. This is what he looks like at his maximum. And I think he's one of the best that you're going to see on this list. I mean, as a box-to-box midfielder, he might be absolutely amazing, especially like a Mazzala on attack as well, I think. Might really suit him. The advanced playmaker too, should you use him in that advanced cam role. Some really tasty attributes in the 16s, a couple of 15s there that might really fit the bill in your club. And at 17 at the start of the game, and for the price of around about 650k, if he turned out like this, you'd be very happy with yourself. Has anyone actually heard of any of these players yet? I mentioned at the start. If you've heard of some of them, let me know. And again, one of those players who on the inside winger or inverted winger, because he's right-footed, cutting inside, he has that great dribbling, he has really good physical attributes, great decision maker, good off the ball, passing and vision of 16. Very underestimated. If you stuck something like tries killer balls on there, cutting inside, sliding in some through balls for your advanced forward or your poacher, something like that, somebody who's going to try and beat the offside trap and break the last line of defense, this guy could be the key to unlock that defense. And for 500k, worth the money. Now, it's such a shame that Chris Mockery doesn't have any better physicals than this other than the 15 stamina, because the rest of Chris Mockery looks absolutely amazing. I mean, if he had better pace, you'd be like, oh, stick that guy right up front. Because although he has the 13 composure, the rest of him looks absolutely insane. Even with the 16 off the ball. The technicals are brilliant, by the way. 17 technique, first touch, 15 finishing and 16 dribbling with 15 heading. I mean, he's 5'10 at the start of the game. If he grows any more, which we know Football Manager can fluctuate, we've seen with a previous Nico Williams, how he won in one save game, he was 5'6", and in the next he's 6'6". It made no sense whatsoever. That's just how Football Manager works. This guy could be amazing at heading and just be like 6'2". He could be a good target man for you. And in behind the striker, I think this is where this man may flourish. In maybe like an Enganche. Does anybody like using Enganche? That's probably not the best role suited. Attacking midfielder, shadow striker. Look at these roles. I mean, physicals again, slightly let him down, but Scottish fans, if you signed him in the Scottish League looking like this, you'd tear it apart, wouldn't he? Now, I did say that this man, Louis Carbonell, was one of those guys who was just like kind of game breaking. He has the best attribute distribution for 160 potential range striker, and I was correct. Look how amazing he is. In the physical department, he has 3 16s in acceleration, agility, and pace. Perfect. Just what you need. He's fast on the bounce straight away from the off. He can then keep the speed with 16 pace, and he has 16 agility, which means he can cut and move, and while he's dribbling the ball, he's very tricky and can be light on his feet type of thing, even with 14 balance. And then you move over to his mentals, and he has 17 composure, 15 decision makings, the 16 flair as well, 16 off the ball, and 16 vision. A number dotted around about the 14s as well for a couple of other things, which is very tasty. And then you look at his technicals, in 16 dribbling, first touch, 15 finishing and passing, 17 technique. This striker is amazing. For around about £1 million, this guy is absolutely incredible. We go to the Uruguayan Benjamin Rodriguez, and the same kind of story happens here. Some little weaknesses, not as quite as good as Louis Carbonell, but again, the technical attributes are fantastic. Mental and physicals kind of let him down compared to the rest of him. Given some decent player traits, you can find a way of making this guy into your team. Maybe even train him in that inside position as the AMC. That might be a more beneficial position for him, especially the fact that he's either-footed could make that he's a really good centre attacking midfielder instead of playing on the wings. That's all down to you though, or just sell him on for a profit. Moneyball transfers just like that. I think he looks really talented though, and not to be ignored whatsoever. A couple of Argentinians, remember, and one was Francisco Gonzalez, playing for the Newell's Old Boys. This guy's a really solid winger. Like, for both sides of the pitch, he has everything that you really need him to have. Let's start with his technicals then, because he has the obvious in 16 for dribbling and 15 for long shots and technique. There are a lot of 14s in there though, and even a 13 passing, especially in the crossing. and the first touch department as well as heading, should you ever pass the ball to the back post and he's running in, I guess. On the mental attributes though, this is where this guy absolutely shines through. A lot of 17s, including anticipation, composure, decision makings. There's even a couple of 18s there for off the ball and vision. Then we go across the physicals and he still has 15 for acceleration and 16 for pace, with a couple of 14s as well. This guy's actually really good. A bit of a sleeper pick in my opinion. Looking at him now, I actually really like this player. And again, Francisco Gonzalez, I don't think anyone's ever mentioned him to me. The other Argentinian on this list from Lanús was Franco Orozco. Now this guy did play on the left hand side only. He is right footed, which means he will cut inside. He has that player trait already. Now, this guy has low concentration, which scares me sometimes, to be fair, but the 12 acceleration, is that such a big deal when he's playing on the left-hand side, but he cuts inside on the right? Because I'd rather him have the agility and balance that he has rather than the acceleration, which is still not bad by any stretch of the imagination. But let's ignore that. The rest of his mentals are solid other than that concentration. His technical attributes are great. The only one that's not a 10 is finishing, and that might be because of this being a random potential range. So I mean, he has 15 tackling here. That could be distributed better every time you load the game, and he is at his maximum of 160 because obviously a lot of these are randomly assigned when you set them. So he could look a lot different to this, especially technically, although he won't be that bad, but I mean, pressing forward maybe, he could be quite solid at that. Only 9 aggression, but with tackling at that, it might be worth setting him as a pressing forward. I'm not sure. What's your opinions? And finally, we have Asanele Velabhai, who is absolutely phenomenal. We did actually do a WONDERKID spotlight on him last year for last year's game, but again, nobody's really talking about him in this year. My audience has grown by 3 times since I last did a video on this man. The acceleration and pace of 17. Lovely stuff. We then go to the mental attributes, and there are a few 15s and even a 17 for vision. And that works perfectly because he plays in that cam role, and when you have dribbling, first touch, passing and technique of 17, a couple of 16s, well, 1 16 in the long shots, and then a few 15s in finishing and crossing. I mean, Shadow Striker is just screaming at me for this guy here. Maybe he needs better off the ball, but an amazing attacking midfielder for so little cost. The South African player here, who again, you can pick up on a free transfer if you just wait until January to pick him up and he doesn't sign a new deal. He's just, why wouldn't you pick him up? You either use him and he is amazing, or you sell them on and you make a profit. So there we have it. Those are 10 unknown wonderkids that you probably have never heard of. Let me know down in the comments if you have heard of any of them. Let me know down in the comments which one's your favorite. Remember, show this video some love and I'll bring you 10 more. That's a promise. Make sure you hit that subscribe on the way out if you haven't done so already. Still about 64% of you who haven't subscribed, and that makes me very upset. Thank you very much for watching the video. I'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.